go again. I hear those trumpets blow again. All aglow again. Taking a chance on love.
Welcome to a new edition of the Neon Jazz interview series with LA-based multi-award-winning concert pianist, vocalist, and educator Marina Pekoski. She opened up about her new 2023 CD called Inner Urge that will be out on Summit Records in March of 2023. It's a grand mixture of the Great American Songbook, standards, bebop classics, modern jazz, and even a French song or two in there. She is a multifaceted artist that has toured internationally and performed extensively in France, Italy, Spain, Germany, the Netherlands, and Belgium, as well as the United States. She has a great story. Enjoy this interview.
Thank you for talking to me about your latest CD, Inner Urge. And before we get to the album, you know, going through COVID the last 3 years has been quite a thing for the jazz community. And I'm wondering how you survived it and how it changed the way that you do things and live your life now.
Oh, well, in a lot of ways, and in some ways also, I was kind of comfortable with the loneliness that, you know, the COVID era brought to all of us, because, you know, having devoted a lot of, you know, my teenage you know, years and even childhood years to practice music, piano, singing, you know, I spent lots of hours just by myself practicing. And so when that happened, past, you know, the shock of, you know, worldwide epidemic, I found myself comfortable practicing my piano even more, working on some arrangements, transcribing some stuff, you know, so that was the cool thing. And, well, of course, as everybody, you know, I ate a lot of ice cream and watched a few movies. You know, that didn't change much of my way of spending a lot of time by myself. But now the result of this is, of course, we are all, I think, super excited to be back, you know, on stage, in a real in-person setting and sharing again. And I think it became even more, you know, precious and priceless that we have the opportunity to share what we love with the persons we love, you know, and to meet people and to be in life. And I think we realized how important to love and be loved is important, you know, just like in the song, you know, Nature Time, you know.
Yeah, I absolutely agree. And having an album, Inner Urge, out and to have the chance to perform that live and just kind of a rebirth with the beginning of the year. How does this album feel? How does this release feel for you?
Well, it feels wonderful. You know, it's my baby, and you know, I've had, you know, we conceived it, you know, with a lot of care. I was lucky to have Scott Whitfield immediately volunteering to be co-producing with me this album. And to have a musician like him, you know, at my side was wonderful. And it feels great, you know. I was able to share music with people that I admire and who said yes to me, like, immediately in participating to the album. So I feel like, you know, the cover is green, like, you know, the color of hope and future and springtime, and it feels this good energy of springtime. I think it infuses also the whole album, you know, with this energy, you know, and we are garnering some really good and even excellent reviews. And we really look forward to the release March 10th, and then to the release party show at Vibrato on April 19th. That's also very exciting. And we will have, you know, some of the amazing, you know, stellar musicians that were on the album being there as also on April 19th. So that's really exciting to be able to perform, you know, the tracks live, you know, too. So, it's incredible. Also, you know, I fulfilled one of my dreams. As an improviser, I admire a lot, you know, horn players, you know, and I listened to a lot of horn players, even as many as I could hear some singers as well. And I have a deep admiration for Joel Fram, amazing saxophone player. And when he said yes to participating to the album, I was just like, is it true? Is it real? Am I living the dream? And so yeah, I feel good about it. Yeah, there is a springtime fresh energy in the whole album and about everything around it, I think.
Yeah, well said. So let's get back into your life and tell me where you were born and raised and how the seeds of jazz got in you to become who you are.
I love this question. So, well, I was born and raised in a small city of France, in the southwestern of France, Biarritz. Biarritz is in the Basque Country, just, near the ocean, the Atlantic Ocean, and near the mountains. It's a beautiful, setting. And my dad was a deep jazz lover and used to play clarinet and saxophone. And he had a New Orleans band, later on a mainstream band as well. And when I was a kid, I just used to go with him when he had concerts. And, I would dance. I would bother them, dancing in the chords and the strings and everything. And we had a lot of records at home. And jazz was always part, of the life at home, the meals, friends coming over, playing together. My brother also plays the guitar. My mom, was a lover of musicals. She's not there anymore, unfortunately, but she loved, all these musicals. And so music was on all the time. And I started with practicing classical piano, which is my background, really. But when, I reached maybe the age of 9 or 10, I started spontaneously to improvise, doing so many other things, like just, walking or, doing anything. I would improvise freely. And that's how it started. And then later on, at school, I was the youngest, participant to a jazz band of the high school. I was still in middle school, but I was allowed to join the band. And that's how I got my first band, I would say.
So the other thing that's big on our development is, the concerts we see live. What was the first live jazz show that really made an impression on you?
That's a great question. Let's see. Of course, yeah, it was the records, right? But let's see, live shows. I would say maybe, it was really my dad blowing his clarinet. I remember at this festival, it was in Vitoria-Gasteiz in the Spanish Basque Country. And of course, to see him perform that festival, that was something. And then, I was able, to see some performers, like when I was really, really a kid, right? I saw Ray Charles performing in my city, with his band, and that was incredible to see him, I remember also that as a kid, my parents used to welcome some of the musicians who would come for a concert in town, so some American musicians, and so they would literally jam at our home, and I was really impressed by that too. A lot. I was able to see Brad Meldo in Marciac. I was able to see, so Brad Meldo, I love this pianist, like so much. And unfortunately, I was not able, to see all of my idols like Ella Fitzgerald, Sarah Vaughan. I would have loved, if I had been able to see them, because they are really, Ella is the best, all time. So But many concerts, but we also with some French, jazz musicians like, André Villéger, Nicolas Montier, Jean-Loup Lognon, who would come, often in my city perform.
So, you've been around a lot of veteran, seasoned jazz musicians, legends in your life. And as an educator, I'm curious, what do you get from being around those musicians that you give to younger players and teach them?
Oh, yes, of course. I mean, I think that music is an oral tradition, even if it's important to know how to read, and know some of the, the notation, but it's definitely in oral transmission. I think we learn being around them, but we also learn a lot listening to the records, So, yes, when, I have students, of course, I forward, first of all, the devotion in practicing a lot, in really spending the time. And of course, listening, because I really believe that we learn, by almost like if it was a language, by being immersed, in the music. So listening is a very important part. And then, of course, all these great musicians, they have the knowledge, of the chord changes, of, the melodic phrase and everything like that. So, yes, I do my best to have this transmit to my students, in the best way I can, especially when I teach, vocal improvisation. My pianists, usually I, teach them a lot of classical music because it's my first background, right? And I think it's good to have, this kind of classical education at many levels because we learn a lot in terms of harmony, in terms of phrase, in terms of chops too, right?
There's so many facets that go into being a musician, a professional musician, and what you do all the time. What do you like the best about being a professional musician?
Yeah. Well, the first thing I love is just playing music. I mean, I live when I play music. I think it's a form of meditation. When you're able to play or to sing, and it feels good in the body, it feels good in the soul, it feels good in the heart. And I always tell my students, this is something I always tell them, that when you really, play, practice, you have no time for being depressed, for being worried, for, thinking to something else than the music you are playing or practicing, So that, then I love, of course, the contact with others, in the field of jazz, in the field of classical it's different because as a pianist, most of the time, you are on your own, which I love too. I would say, that would be in contact with the great composers, like, Mozart, Beethoven, Schumann, Schubert, and then, in the jazz, be in contact with Charlie Parker, like people like that, Dizzy Gillespie, so having their repertoire, and of course all the classic, Cole Porter, who brought wonderful melodies to us, and so that, just a prime pleasure, just like eating, drinking, loving. For me, playing music is the same thing, the same sort of immediate pleasure, And also, I like the quote by the philosopher Nietzsche, who always, says, without music, life would be a mistake. And I always say that for me, without music, life would be a mistake. Music first healed me, and I'm never alone with music. And that's the main point. I'm never alone with music. And that's what also nourished me during the pandemic.
So, why do you love jazz?
Why do I love jazz? Well, so I love jazz for the ability of being creative, improvisation. Improvisation is a wonderful thing, and to be able to do it spontaneously on stage, it's the highest level of creativity, and especially with a band to do a simultaneous, improvisation together. It's incredible. I love music. I love jazz for the sound of the instruments and the soul, of saxophone, for example, listening to Coltrane, listening to Stan Getz, one of my favorite sax player, Freddie Hubbard, the sound of the instruments. I like, so many things. It's hard to understand to why you love something when it's like love at first sight. You know that you love, knowing why. I believe it's mainly for the improvisation level. I love improvising. I love the soul of it. And I grew up listening to jazz, so it's part of me, I would say.
So everyone out there has a perception or an idea of who they think you are, your family, your friends, your fans, but you live your life. Who do you think you are?
Well, that's a good question. I would say, human being who tries her best to live according to some principles, moral values, trying to be in the moment present, happy, trying to recover from my mistakes, trying not to harm, and being on earth for a little bit of time. So trying to live it as fulfilled as possible, not knowing, what is this mystery, of being alive and ending up being a musician. It's a mystery, the genes, the family heritage, the place where we live in the world. It's a mystery. So who am I? Just a human being trying to do his best, her best, I guess. Yeah.
Wonderful. So if anyone out there wants to pick up the new album, learn more about any live shows, anything pertaining to you, where can they go?
So on March 10th, it's going to be, the CD will be available on all the digital platforms, right? Spotify, iTunes Music, etc. It will be available on Summit Records labels for, physical purchase. It's going to be available through my website to reach me, and I will be able to send CDs. And then there will be a big CD release show at Vibrato in Glen Oaks on April 19th. So that will be the official CD release. It's going to be at 7:30, and I will be with Josh Nelson, Mike Rula, Roy McCurdy, Scott Whitfield, some, of the wonderful guests that I had on my CD, some surprise too. So, yes, I guess on all these occasions and platforms.
Wonderful. This has been great. Thank you for opening up about the new album, about your life and music. I appreciate it.
Thank you so much, Joe, for having me. I also really appreciate that. It was a pleasure.
Thanks for listening and tuning in to another Neon Jazz interview, where we give you a bit of insight into the finest players and singers in France, Los Angeles, Kansas City, and spots all over the world, giving fans all that jazz. Thanks to Marina for her time, music, and story. If you want to hear more interviews, you can find Neon Jazz interviews at either Spotify or Apple Podcasts. You can subscribe to us out on YouTube. And everything Neon Jazz is found at theneonjazz.blogspot.com. Until next time, enjoy the jazz, my friends.
Taking a chance on love, taking a chance on love.
Neon Jazz.